Hello again, it's me, that guy with the YouTube channel, and today is a very special day, and as you can see, the camera's a lot higher up than usual because of what we're reviewing. Yeah, we're doing another review, duh. Because what we're reviewing is so big, I gotta have the camera higher up, so it might wobble a lot like that. But anyways, today is a special day. It's November 27th. You know what that means? What? What? No, it's not that stupid day where you wait in line at 4 a.m. to get an iPhone for $2 off and get trampled over it, and you can just get it for a better deal like a week after. No. No, it is not that. No, forget about that shit. No. Brush it up. There you go. It's gone. Gone. Today is the 50th anniversary of Gamera. Yeah. So today, rather than, today we are doing a review of a figure that, just bumped the camera there, of a figure that I got, like, what, 3 months ago now? And I would have reviewed it when I got it, but I figured I should wait till today, because today's a special day, and this is a very special figure. So today, we're reviewing the X Plus Rocket Pro Gamera 1995, out of frame, because this figure is really big, and even though I have the camera stacked up an extra like 4 or 5 inches, it's still not enough. Anyways, before we get on to the figure came in a bag and header card. I have the bag and the header card. So we'll look at the header card. As you can see, there's a picture of the Gamera and Super Gauss figures. For some reason, they photoshopped the picture of Gamera, but they didn't photoshop the picture of Gauss, Super Gauss. So it looks weird. And there's a tiny Gauss flying away in the background, or flying towards Gamera. I can't really tell. It says something there. I can't really tell what that top bit says, but it says Gamera Daikaiju Kuchu Kesen. Gamera, giant monster midair battle, aerial battle, sky war, whatever. That translates to like a million different things. And there's a bit of red string. I'll explain why it's string and not a hole for it to hang from a peg later. See, it's a kind of pleasing T-shaped header card. Gets thinner towards the bottom. There's flames there and everything, die sticker. If you open up the header card, there's a smaller picture of the image on the front of it. I don't really understand why. And the back is nothing special, just how to put the tail on. You put it into the figure. Great instructions there. And there's the Rocket Pro and X Plus logo, what have you. There's a string tied into a knot and taped up so that it doesn't come loose, because, believe me, when you find out how this thing was sold, you would not want the string to come loose. And I did keep the bag just for the comedic reason that this thing is absolutely huge. And like here's how big the tip of it is. It's taller than Gamera, and you have this tiny little header card which goes right there. Yeah, that's kind of, there's a little bit of humor in that. Also, I kept the bag to retain the smell, because believe me, this figure's like, what, over 10 years old now, but it still has a nice fresh smell to it. It was very fresh when I got it out of the box. But anyways, bag and hair card out of the way, on to detail. Focus. There we go. As you can see, the detail is very nice. Just the sculpting alone is very good. It's brilliant. As you can see, the toenails look nice. They're bone white, glossy bone white with a brown wash, but you might notice there's a little bit of a paint blemish. Some little minor paint errors on the toenails of the figure. This isn't the only place there are just minor little paint errors. They're in several places throughout the figure, but there is a very good reason for these paint errors, and once you find out what the reason is, these paint errors will seem like absolutely nothing. But as you can see, it's black vinyl, nothing on the bottom, with green dry brushing throughout the figure, which, as you can see, just makes it look really nice, helps bring out all this amazing, beautiful sculpting. You got the knees there. Just bring it in a little closer there. Yeah, there we go. Now you can see that really nice detail. It's a little hard to show just because the hands get in the way and everything, but yeah, we can focus that. Focus. There we go. You can see the detail on the plastron, which is dry brushed brown. And you can see there's a little bit they sculpted there, which looks like where his tail would retract in. Just the detail on the tail as well. Detail on the tail. Yeah, okay, you can hang me for that horrible joke later. Anyways, the green dry brushing is on the top of the tail and not the bottom, but considering you won't look at that, that's fine, even though they sculpted it, and it too looks very nice. It's a little heavy on the tail and shiny, but that doesn't really matter. You're not really always going to be looking at that. And the tail looks a little long for my liking, but that might just be because I'm used to looking at the Bandai's stumpy, tiny little tail. That probably is accurate length, and it kind of picks up towards the end where it's not laying flat with the ground. Anyways, getting back to the plastron, it just looks really nice, all the nice detail. Again, dry brushed brown. These two upper panels look a little different than these two just because these are separate pieces which are attached to the head. There's a seam that runs underneath them. But one thing you might notice is, I'm not really sure if I can show this, but if it'll focus. Let's bring the camera in a little closer there. Whoa, sorry there. You might be able to notice that right there, above my thumb, there's a little like line right there. That's a little hair, and well, what I thought was a hair. Well, I found out what these were later, and they're kind of all throughout the paint job on his plastron, kind of stuck in the paint. And they're not like, this isn't a cheap NECA figure or anything. It's not like you're gonna get a hair stuck in the figure. They're just on the plastron. The same reason why these hairs are there is the same reason why he has the paint issues on his toenails and on several other places throughout the figure. Which, again, I will get to the reason why there's these hairs and the little paint issues later. But coming to the hands, you can see there's nice detail going along the arms there. They look really nice. Focus. There we go. You can just see. This review is going to be mostly me showing the detail just because of how amazing and stunning and beautiful this figure looks. See, the green dry brushing is on both sides of the arms, which is good. They didn't skip out. And you can see his hands look nice. The index and middle finger, that's the word I was looking for, are a little more separated from the ring and pinky finger. Those are also the words I'm looking for. A little lost for words there, but yeah, they were separated kind of like that in the movie a little more, so it would have been nice if they made can't really speak right today, if they made the ring finger and pinky finger a little more curled in, kind of like on this hand. See, these two fingers are a little more curled in than these two, because that's kind of the way the suit actor always had them, but they still look really nice. And you can see, again, there's like little paint issues. Not entirely painted, just like right there. They didn't paint that part. And the brown wash, again, at the base of the fingernails, which, considering how tiny they are, that doesn't really matter if it covers most of the fingernails. Yeah, you can see just the detail is really nice. And again, I'll get to why there are these tiny, minute little paint issues throughout the figure. Yeah, just the detail is beautiful on this guy and his head. My God, this thing is so gorgeous. See, underneath his neck is nicely done. The neck is a nice length, not that really stumpy, pretty much no-neck Bandai. This has a just beautiful figure. See, his tusks look really nice. They are pointy and they are soft. They are soft vinyl. Most of the figure is hard vinyl, but the jaw, which is a separate piece, the lower jaw, is soft vinyl. And the tusks actually came pretty badly bent up, so I had to heat those with a hairdryer and bend them back. Yeah, I mean, just look at the detail in that. Like, look at his mouth. This detail is amazing. You can see all kinds of little detail. It looks wet. There is a little complaint I do have, which does apply to all the Gameras. This isn't just mine. But the upper part is a nice dark red, and the lower part's a little more of a whitish orange. Kind of the same color as the tusks, just with the red over it. That's a little issue, but when you're looking at it from far away, it's barely noticeable. But just look at the detail in that. Look at the detail in that, sorry. Just look at it. Look how far down his throat goes. Just look at that. This is amazing attention to detail. The nose looks a little too rounded for my liking. Should be a little more pointed, but that's minor issue. I mean, just look at the detail. Look at it. Look at it. The detail more than makes up for pretty much every error with this figure. And now we're out of focus there. Just kidding. Let me bring that in a little closer. There we go. Look at that. It's gorgeous. His eyes are painted inaccurately. They should, the green, well, they are green, but they should have the green part should be like a squiggly line going around the eye instead of the just normal green circle. But that doesn't really bother me all that much. It just kind of stands out a little more just because of the way the figure's been detailed. Underneath the eyes isn't actually painted. They just painted around it, but the way it's done makes it look like they shaded the underside of his eyes, but they didn't. So that makes him look really good, and again, the top of his head looks nice. And the back of his shell, too, which is really, really nice. They actually did shade this, and it looks great. So you're probably wondering, what's the deal with all these little paint issues? Well, I will tell you what is the deal. This figure is hand-painted. Yes, they painted this figure by hand. That's why there are these little hairs, because when you paint stuff like this, bristles come off the paintbrush, so those hairs are bristles from the paintbrush. So that is why this figure has the little issues in the hairs, because someone sat down with the paintbrush and painted this figure by hand, and all the other ones like this. So for sizing, we're going to kind of rush a little bit with sizing, because I'm a little short for time on this video. This figure was released to go alongside one figure, and only one figure, and I don't have that figure, so here's the closest thing I have to the figure. Bandai Super Gauss. This is ridiculously small. She should be like that big. But I sadly don't have the Rocket Pro Super Gauss, and likely won't get that for a long time. And just to compare, here's the Bandai Gamera 1995. Yeah, really, really short. And detail does not compare in any way to this beautiful figure. And just one other sizing. I'm not going to pull out the standard 4 figures you see in other reviews. Well, there will be one other sizing. GMK Godzilla, just as a standard 8-inch Godzilla, as you can see. Gamera is taller. It doesn't really need to go along with that figure. And just because this figure's in all the other Gamera reviews, here's Gamera 1996 SH Monster Arts, just to show you. This figure was $80, and compare that to this. When you find out what this was sold, how this was sold, it's mind-blowing. So yeah, that's sizing. I'm not going to pull out the standard other figures you normally see. Oh, I forgot to mention one thing. Articulation. Okay, articulation's out of the way. Now for the final part of the video, review, history of the figure, and pricing. This figure was originally released in 2002 by X Plus and Rocket Pro. They're two different companies. And this figure was released as a claw game prize. Yes, that's why this figure has a string on top of the header card, so that the claw could come down and grab it and pull it up. This figure, this beautiful, beautiful figure, which when you find out how people try to sell this figure nowadays, it's amazing, or ridiculous, really. This beautiful figure was a claw game prize. You could win this in a claw game. You know what the kind of quality of the claw game stuff you get here in the U.S. is? Like a crappy teddy bear that feels like it's made out of tissues and paper towels. Meanwhile, in Japan, you can get this beautiful figure. It's work of art, pretty much, for however much or however lucky you were, and a couple yen. And there was another reissue of this figure, and which was orange, translucent orange. I'm not sure if that was a claw game prize or not. And this figure was also released along a Super Gauss, which the Super Gauss is even more rare than the Gamera. Which this figure, nowadays on eBay, people try to sell this figure for up to $100. I checked eBay before I started this review. There were no listings for the painted version. There were about 2 or 3 listings on eBay, which I saw, which were for the orange version, which were around $50 to $100. So expect to pay that much for this figure. I got lucky and got mine for about $45 on eBay. And there are no other places. I've searched high and low for this figure and cannot find it anywhere else. So, yeah, be lucky if you can find the painted one, unless you have an account on Yahoo Japan. So for a rating, I'm going to give this figure an easy, easy, easy 10 out of 10. I would give it more than 10, but I don't work that way. So this beautiful figure gets a 10 out of 10. Happy 60th anniversary, Gamera. And as I always say, sure mama jamo, it means I accidentally ate the whole thing. Sayonara.